real estate's local. Every transaction is unique. And so you got to spend a lot of prep time, I believe, making a case for that specific home.
Well, I'm excited because I actually know the person that I have on the show today. So I have been working for the past 2-3 years. For anyone who doesn't already know, I'm obsessed with data. I'm obsessed with numbers. I'm obsessed with enriching all of the information in my CRM system so that my salespeople can work smarter. And so a couple of years ago, one of my lenders was like, hey, check out this Redder system. It's really good. You can get agent data, you can get customer data, you can get open house data. And I said, cool, how much? The price was great. So we signed up. And literally, like after I signed up, the owner, who I found out was a realtor, started messaging me. And anytime we have an idea, it seems like they either are in works to get it done or we have an open discussion about it. So like from a software perspective, I love these people. But Steven Wynands is the CEO. He's also a real estate agent. He was a very successful Washington, D.C. agent. And I wanted to have him on the show because I think there's so much data that's out there that people don't know is there, but also data that we could be using and also then figure out how we could actually use it. So Steven, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for taking me on this 15-year journey through being a rookie agent all the way to where we are now. It's the blast from the past, hearing you say all that.
So why don't you walk us through, like we always have people on the show kind of walk us through their kind of origin story, their superhero story of like, where did you start and kind of where did you get to? Because I think that will help people establish that credibility to then figure out why they should listen to you for the rest of the show.
Yeah, you know how everyone comes out the womb wanting to sell real estate?
Yes.
I was just another one of those. But being in the DC metro area, actually, like there's a standard script here. You go to college, you get a job at one of the big consulting firms, you raise a family. It's a rinse and repeat kind of thing. But along the way, I accidentally became a realtor, and I catapulted to the top by using data to build trust through transparency. And it's a very competitive market here on the DC area. And I was always able to get my buyers within the top 3 offers to always have a chance, even when there were 20 bids. And I was also able to secure $1 million listings when, maybe I shouldn't have even had any business doing that, because I use this data to build that trust through transparency.
Well, I mean, I think that's such an interesting thing because right now we're in like a tale of two markets. Some markets around the US seem like they have a gigantic glut of listings, and the agents representing those listings can't figure out what they need to do to sell it other than just dropping the price. And then you have this other camp of areas like the Midwest where I'm in, where there's like a little bit more inventory than there was before, but buyers are still competing tooth and nail to get offers accepted. And we have 4 million realtors or whatever that number is out there for, let's say, 2 million home sales. So it is ultra competitive, and obviously in certain markets even more so. So what data should realtors be looking for that they could use to their advantage? And maybe let's maybe separate that. Like some data is freely out there for those who know how to use it, and then there's other data that they could buy or get through their MLS or their brokerage.
Yeah, happy to give you all the tricks of the trade, because I still have my active license in Virginia, but I've stopped producing since around 2022. I just refer it now so I can focus on the software side of things and build the tools that'll help make your lives easier as real estate agents. And so the first point with data that I could offer to help buyers secure that home and give their buyers a chance, like, you don't want to put in 5 offers, 10 offers until you finally find that right one. You want to be able to win within those first 3. And that's what I specialize in. And here's how I was able to do that. When I submitted the offer, right, everything comes with the offer sheet, the contingencies, the financing, all that kind of stuff. But one thing I added for my buyers was my own resume. I call it my track record. So it's like, hey, Matt, we love your listing. It's so beautiful. You stage it perfectly. Our buyers can see themselves living in here for the next 20 years. And well done. I've always wanted to work with you. I see your name everywhere. And you might not know me, but boom, here's the sheet of data saying, this is Steven Wynands. He's been an agent for several years. He's done 15, 20 transactions in the past year on the list side and the buy side. And so I could show you that and say, yeah, you might not know me, but here's my body of work. And I can tell you all day that it's going to be a smooth transaction, but now I'm inviting you, Matt. I'm saying, you know what? Don't believe me. Why don't you talk to these other agents that I worked with, and they'll tell you all the same things about me. I kept my buyer under control. We had no issues we didn't ask for all 100 home inspection items. And at appraisal time, we worked together to work through it in a fair way. And so by providing that data to the listing agent, people always need a third party to come to their senses about things. And so even if the listing agent's saying, wow, I trust Steven, let's go with their offer. Like, don't go with that high one because they've never done any transactions. Like, go with Steve because he's the real deal. But now they can see it and be like, wow, I really do have this trust and I don't need to see anything else. I don't need to check on their pre-approvals. Like, this is the one. And that's how I was able to get my buyers to the top of the stack every single time.
Well, I almost want to just say, like, why didn't everyone else think of that, right? Like, you're submitting an offer and technically it's your job to make sure that you get your client's offer to stand out. But in a market where there's 20 offers and 80% of them are within a percent or two of the same price, you have to figure out what you can do differently, and simply including your kind of resume as a realtor, your track record, as you will. You're able to let yours stand out. Like, what is this guy doing? And then they read it and they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. And it just gives a little bit of extra confidence. And what I like about it is, A, it doesn't cost any money. Any realtor could do this. Now, what would you do if you were a brand new realtor? So like a new realtor doesn't really have a track record. What are they focusing on instead?
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about this. I know a lot of people have that concern. If they're new, they don't want to show that they're new, but a good realtor, a good listing agent, they're going to find out. So it's better to be upfront about it. Just like, the rules, disclose, disclose, disclose. Same thing about your professional resume. And so what I tell everyone to do is you should get a mentor. And that mentor is probably a high performing agent, and you include their track record. And it's like, hey, Matt, Steven, I am a new realtor. If you look me up, you won't find a lot about me, but I want to assure you that I'm working with the top agent in Reston, and they've got us covered throughout the transaction. I've CC'd them here as well. You're not just getting one of us, you're getting two of us. It's going to be smooth.
I love that. And the other piece too is like all these realtors who join, especially like a bigger brokerage, they're paying for that credibility. They're paying for their broker's credibility at the end of the day. And so to not market that especially with your offers, is kind of almost silly. So that's a little bit on the buy side of extra information you're providing the listing agent to get those offers accepted. What other places should agents be looking for data in?
Oh yeah, the list side. So you can use the same data in different ways. And so just like I built trust on that buy side, I use it also on the listing side. Because what I would do, trying to break into that $1 million market, it's like you normally know who's selling these houses, right? These neighborhoods, you see the same names on the park benches, on the yard signs, all that. I'd show up and I'd say, Matt, so long as you price it right and show it well, it's going to sell. But I'm going to go one step further than any other agent you're going to talk to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure, like, this is a big financial decision for you. I'm going to make sure it goes through, doesn't get delayed, doesn't fall through. And so what I'm going to do is when you get that offer, I am going to go research that agent, and then I'm going to research those loan officers. And I can do that because I have this data. And I'm going to take a look at that agent, and then I'm going to call all the people that they worked with recently and ask, same thing, right? It's like, how were they at home inspection time? How are they at appraisal time? How are they with the move-in time? So it works the same way with the listings. And it's crazy. Like you mentioned that, like, why don't people do this more often? They don't think about it. But if you unlock that trust with that data, you'll hear what I heard so many times. It's, Steven, no one's ever talked to us like that before. Where do we sign? That happened multiple times.
And it's so true. Cause I've been running this podcast for 6 years now, and I've yet to hear that. Like on the lending side, we will call the listing agent and advocate for the buyer and the realtor basically on their behalf, to let them know, like, hey, we vetted this person, they're good to go. This is our credibility. Here's our track record. You're in safe hands. So like we do that, but I haven't heard this being done on the realtor side to secure listings, right? And at the end of the day, I think we're in a really weird like real estate climate where people are like, what are you actually doing other than getting my house on the internet? And this is one of those things. Number one, you have the more experience you have, the more relationships you have with these agents, the more market knowledge you have. But if you're actually then using that knowledge and building it by making those calls and by vetting everyone on the transaction, that is a huge extra data point, because it's something that the buyer or seller doesn't want to think about. You're taking work off of their plate and putting it onto yours that will help ensure the transaction goes through.
Oh, even more so, this one level deeper with the data on this listing, right? It's tough to secure listings because you got to battle the entrenched. And so I'd go to your house and you might say, well, Steven, why should I work with you? John Corello does all these houses in Lake Anne. Like, why wouldn't I go with him? And then I point to that data that I have, and I'm like, oh, Matt, I love John. John and I love working together. Look, we did these 2 transactions in the past year. He sends people to my listings. I send people to his listings. And then that calms them down, knowing that, oh, yes, we are allies trying to help each other out to make sure our clients have a smooth experience.
I love that. So when it comes to marketing and using data that's like publicly available on the internet to kind of figure out, how to, market better to your clients, how to market better to people that you don't know in your community, what things should agents be thinking about?
Yeah. So I'm in the Bright MLS. The data is abundant, but it's not easily
It's not easy to sort,
organized.
right? Like we have all
Yeah.
this data out there, but it seems like all the data you want is never in one place, and you almost need like a PhD in computer science to like use all the toggles to like make it look presentable.
That's why we built this thing here, because I was keeping track of all this stuff in Excel and then like copying over Microsoft Word, making it a little bit pretty. And then every time I had a new offer, I was like, okay, new week, new update. And so that's why we ended up building this system, which I don't know if I can talk about it all. I don't want to sell
Yeah,
to the
let's talk about it at the
audience.
end for sure.
Okay. Yeah. But there are systems out there that'll combine the data for you to just make it easy to use. And so doing it yourself, it's a lot of work, but it's worthwhile. If you want to help those buyers win that home without having to write 10 offers, if you want to get that listing, it's worth the time.
Absolutely. What data points exist online that
Oh, yeah.
maybe realtors don't realize are there that they should be using to maybe use in their marketing, use with their past clients, etc.
Yeah, so things that I would use back in the day doing it that manual method, you have the original list price, the sales price, and then the combined days on market. And so those are strong things that you can show, or if it makes sense, on the list side, where you say like, oh, look at this agent, they're going to promise you a lot of stuff, but it's going to take 90 days and you're going to drop your price by 10%. Versus if you look at mine, like we sell within 3 days over list price, and then we close. And so that information is on your MLS right then and there.
That's interesting. So if you know you're in a competitive, and obviously I don't want to offend anyone if I'm saying something that's like against your individual associations or state's code of ethics. But in theory, if you're competing for a listing or you're in a neighborhood where you know that like it's like you and one other agent all the time, you could in theory just print out the absolute stats on you and them to say, hey, my listings on average in the last 2 years have sold for 4% over list price, and the other three agents who did business, they're sold for 1% lower than list price. Like in theory, if you were comfortable doing that, you could. But obviously, you don't want to throw other agents under the bus.
You let the numbers speak for themselves. And then as agents, we all know that every single house has a story. And so if anything ever went south, I could tell you, like, oh, Matt, I know all about that one. Like I told them to do this and this is what they wanted. And I followed their directions. And because they were a family friend, I didn't want to ruin that. Like, so you can explain away every single thing, but you
And I
let the numbers
really
speak for
like when
themselves.
you mentioned like looking at like the list price compared to the sales price and using that's a great number to use in marketing, because like I think too often realtors focus on just what was the sales price. But when you look at those two numbers together, it really paints the story of like what the market is doing. And then especially if you can take that data almost like on a weekly basis and say, what is the market doing right now? Like what percentage in different price ranges, because I think it is different in different price ranges, like bands almost. Like
Mhm.
what is the percentage that homes are selling for above, below, or at list price? That is then information that you can market back to your buyers to say, hey, I know per neighborhood in our metro area exactly how to structure an offer to win, because we have data on list price, on sales price, and on I think showing time sometimes offers like number, not necessarily number of offers, but like number of days on market and a lot of those other things. And if you take that all together, you can use that to help rate better offers, but also to market to buyers that you have and know how to use that data to help them.
Yeah, I've also used this to help set expectations for my sellers, where I'll let them know if we take this offer, it's gonna be really rocky. I know you like the high number, but I just called these other agents, and they said they will whittle you down at every single stage that they can, including at the closing table. And you know what? It did happen, but we were prepared for it, and everyone was still happy at the end of the day, knowing what we were getting into. So the data
That's
can
an
be used
interesting
to
one.
do that
So
research.
you're almost like educating your sellers on like which one of these offers is going to be the least strings attached, the cleanest offer. And sometimes the highest might be the cleanest also, but by doing those interviews with those other realtors, you can find out what their normal tactics are and what might be coming up next.
Yeah.
That's super smart. I love that idea.
And
What are you seeing? Are there any ways you've seen agents, because like there's having the data and then there's using the data. Are there any areas of an agent's marketing that you think like people like are missing the boat when it comes to like using the right data?
yeah, I think they don't really use much of the data. They use the pre-made systems where they just set it and forget it. And you need to treat every single house. Real estate's local. Every transaction is unique. And so you got to spend a lot of prep time, I believe, making a case for that specific home and like really digging into things. So one of the reasons I got into real estate is, when I listed my home, I got some CMAs from agents and they just went out there and they printed CMA. And I'm like, okay, what is this? They're like, oh, it's like what your house might be worth. And so where they're missing the boat on the data is walking the seller through these things. Like, okay, look, there are these homes that sold in your area. Um, of those 20, only these 4 make sense because they've all got 3 levels and the same number of bedrooms. This one has an extra half bathroom, so we'll make a little tweak for that. But I went through the pictures, and those 3, only 2 of these are a good comp because these 2 were updated and they're very similar to yours. So helping them see the things that a Zestimate or someone else can't see just by plopping in the default values, that's a big missing part of the data. Helping the seller and the buyer through the journey, like why we're listing it for this much, why we're making this kind of offer.
Well, and what I find so interesting, right? And I think that the tide is changing in terms of opinion on this. But for years and years and years, everyone wants a set it and forget it marketing campaign. We want an email, same email going to all people. But if you think about it, like think about like any store that you shop at. Like I don't know, maybe you and your wife are going to Lululemon every weekend. When they're selling a pair of like $100 pants, maybe it's 110 this week, I don't know. But to sell that pair of $110 pants that they make like a 20% profit margin on, they're marketing to you with like clothes that are your size that fit your buyer persona with all of the other thousands of data points they have on you. And then like as you get closer to the mall, like the ads become more frequent, maybe the coupons increase. But we're in real estate, we're selling homes where the commission is tens of thousands of dollars, but we're sending the same shitty drip email to 10,000 people and expecting results when we have loads of data points, but most of us just aren't using them to our advantage. And then to your point, what's happening is that we're in essence making ourselves seem stupid because we're sending people prices that are out of touch where the buyer or seller truly could have figured a better price on their own without our automated help. But if we were to actually sit down and think about it and kind of use our human brain that they were paying for or intending to pay for, you would have got to a much different conclusion. And I think that's where a lot of us are missing the boat, and that we're automating away some of the most important things that clients traditionally find the most value in. And then we're showing almost like our worst foot forward by giving them all this automated stuff that isn't actually real, accurate, or helpful. It's just
Yeah,
easy for us to do.
I do think there's one area where we use data really well without even knowing it, and that's the emotional intelligence aspect. Because really, I felt like as a realtor, my number one job was just being a good therapist. And so going through those houses with the buyers or going through these offers with the sellers and really feeling what they feel so I can address that and um, make calm out of this tumultuous situation of bringing certainty to uncertainty. I think realtors are really good at that. And so you could just get, if you just take that next level with those data points, you would be the whole package and you are everything that the buyers and sellers need that AI is not going to replace because so many people have tried to replace it in so many ways. But at the end of the day, that human aspect will not go away. People need people to go through these major transactions. And so we just have to do the best that we can for them with what we have.
Yeah, I mean the data exists, but we need to be the data explainers. We need to be the guides that explain to them what the data actually means for their specific situation and how we can use it to help them get closer to their goals. Well, Stephen, so tell us about Red a little bit. So, like, obviously, you went from being a top producing realtor in an ultra competitive market to starting a real estate industry tech company. Obviously, I'm a customer, but why don't you walk us through like what the company is, what it's doing, and where it's going?
Yeah, Redder is a mortgage and real estate data platform. And everything that I said about using the data, we've pretty much made it free for realtors through their preferred loan officer. So if you want to use the data to deploy these strategies that we're talking about, just tell your favorite loan officer, like, hey, can you log into Redder and get my track record or get the track records of these buyers? They'll print it out for you. And I did that because like realtors are really busy. We're out in the field all the time, going from house to house. And it's been so wonderful to rely upon our lender and loan officer partners to help us succeed. And so we put this in the hands of loan officers so they can do a lot of this heavy lifting for realtors. And then we all look like badasses. So that's what I would recommend.
And I noticed that in the last couple of years, you guys have added a lot of new and interesting features. Like, what are some of the newer features that the system has that people have been most excited about?
Oh man, here's a really fun one. If your loan officer is watching for refi opportunities, they could reach out to you and tell you like, oh, hey, it looks like there might be an opportunity there. Do you want to reach out to them and tell them, hey, it looks like you can save $500 a month? And then the loan officer is helping the realtor be the hero. Those kind of data points are in there. And then we're doing a home value report thing as well. And we just recently launched this AI feature that analyzes loan officers. That's a different one. It's used for recruiting, so it's not relevant to realtors. But man, these use cases that we have in here, I can't stop building. I love building. And
One
I
of the
love
things I've
building
noticed is like from
realtors.
and I don't even know if this is allowed, but just throwing this out there. I mean, if you had a realtor who was doing a lot of recruiting of other realtors, they could in
Mhm.
theory reach out to their loan officer for a list of like agents that was sorted in like a certain way. Because like I've had so many
Yeah.
like list building type projects where I know who I need to contact, I know what criteria I'm looking for, but all of the existing systems out there have been really challenging to sort the data, get it into an Excel list, and then use it. Your system is a lot easier for that. So I'm thinking like if I'm a realtor recruiter who has a great relationship with my lender, the lender might have extra credits in their account that month and might be able to get you some of these lists even.
You're exactly right, Matt. Yeah, building those recruiting lists for realtors. You're right.
So I guess like the moral of the story here is I would look to see number one, if you're the average Joe realtor on the street, what data is available to you from your brokerage first. Number two, what data is available from your local MLS. Number three, what data is available to you on your own transactions through either your CRM system or through some company metric. I'd look at all that stuff and think, what of this is going to help me with sellers? What's going to help me with listing agents? What's going to help me with buyers? And try to add some of those unique data points into your current marketing strategies so that you can craft the best offers possible and really offer the most value to your clients.
Well
Steven,
said.
dude, I have to say it. Your system has been awesome. It's really helped our business grow. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show today.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, everyone.